Hi, this is MJ, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to make this cozy crop raglan style sweater. The yarn that I'll be using for this tutorial is Maxim Super Soft Yarn. It is a worsted weight number 4 yarn, and the color that I'm using is Puppy Fur. I've collaborated with Maxim for this design, and they have provided me with the yarn to crochet this sweater. And if you click through the link in the description box, I have the link on where you can purchase the yarn, and there are other colors available to choose from. You'll need 2 hook sizes for this crochet pattern. I'm using a 6.5mm hook as well as a 5mm. The 5mm will be worked for the band. The pullover is worked in one piece from the top down, and we'll begin with the collar band. So let's make a slip knot and put that on the hook on our 5mm. And I'll begin with a chain 7. We'll work in the second chain from the hook, 1, 2. And you're going to work single crochets in every chain across. The width of our collar band is 6 stitches. So this will be the width. Now we'll chain 1 and turn, and our entire band is going to be worked single crochets in the back loop only. So we'll just be going through the back loop, completing our single crochet. And you want to make sure that you stay at that 6 stitch mark throughout. So it's always a good idea to count your stitches as you go. And you just want to be careful with this yarn because it is hard to frog back if you make a mistake. So you just want to be gentle with it. Don't tug too tight if you need to frog. So you're just going to continue now in rows, and I'd like you to work up a total of 84. Okay, so once you've worked a total of 84, it should look like this. And then what we're going to do is slip stitch it together. So we're going to chain 1. This is the right side. We're just going to fold the band together. Work through the back loop. And just go across. And we'll just slip stitch all the way across. Then we'll chain 1. You just want to flip so that is now to the inside, and then we're going to work around the band 1 single crochet per row. So we're working around so that we have a total of 84 stitches. 1, 2, and you'll find one row you'll go through where it's just sort of that loop, and the next will be that thicker section, and that will help you keep on track with your rows as you work around. Okay, so I've worked around 84 stitches. I'm going to slip stitch to join, and then I'm going to change over to my larger hook. Okay, so I've changed over to my larger hook, so my 6.5mm. We're going to chain 3. And in that same space, we're going to work a double crochet. So our chain 3 is going to count as our double crochet and our chain 1. And now we're going to work a double crochet in each of the next 17 stitches. So I'm going to work across 17 double crochet. Okay, so once you've worked across 17, we're gonna do our next V here. So we'll work a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Now we're gonna work into the next 23 stitches. So we'll do 23 now double crochets. So I'll continue to work those and then I'll meet you up for the next V. Okay, so I've worked across now 23 and we'll do our next V. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in the same stitch. And now we'll do, this again is our sleeve section, so we'll do another 17. So I'll work across 17 and then I'll meet you up again. Okay, so I've worked across 17, we'll do a V, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we'll work across 23 to finish it off. So I'll work that and then I'll meet you up. Okay, so I've worked across 23. Now what we're gonna do is slip stitch in the second chain. Of that starting chain 3, and then we'll just slip stitch down into the chain 1 space. Okay, and then we'll chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and double crochet, creating our next V. So now in this section that we started it with, our last round was 17. Every round you're going to increase each section by 2 because we'll be working into those double crochets now of the V's. So you should be working across this time 19 stitches. So I will complete that and then we'll meet up again. Okay, so I've worked across 19. You should be coming to your chain 1 space, and then we'll do a V stitch in the chain 1. So a double, chain 1, and a double. And this is how we now continue throughout this pattern. The increases all happen in these V stitches. And just make sure that your V isn't covering the next stitch for our next section, because this section was 23 stitches last time, so this time it will be 25, 2 more stitches. So work across. So work that across until you get to the next chain 1 space. Okay, so I've worked across 25. I'm to my next chain 1 space. We'll put another V, double, chain 1, double. And now I'm just going to continue working in this manner. So this will be 19, another V, and then we'll be working 25. So I'm going to meet you back up when I'm getting over here towards the join, and I'll show you how to finish that off. Okay, so I've worked around and I'm at 24 stitches, and I want you to see here, right here is where we'll be placing that final stitch. So it looks like a little stitch, but it's pulled in tight. It's almost part of that chain space. So we need to add, and if you count your stitches, you'll always be sure about that final, or just keep in mind that you need to put that final stitch in there. So now I have 25. So what we'll do is now slip stitch into that second chain of the chain 3, and then slip stitch into the chain 1 space. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3. So as you can see, when you come back around, you'll be working into this, and if you've kept that fairly loose, it will be easier to work into. Then we'll double crochet, and we're just going to continue in this manner. So this is how our raglan is going to start to look. So this is our collar, which will cinch in nicely. So this would be your back, so that the join here is at the back. This would be the front of the sweater, and then these will be the sleeves. So follow along with your pattern. You're going to continue working until you get the stitches needed for the size you're working on. So I'll pop up how many rounds you'll need to do for the small size that I'm working on, but if you're working on a different size, just follow along with your pattern. As we increase, we basically continue increasing this yoke until it's large enough for the size we're making. And you can also try it on as you go if you're making it for yourself. So you're just going to continue. The increase happens whenever we get to these chain one spaces, and we're adding a V in every chain one space. And we're just going to continue increasing until we've reached our desired size. So I'm going to work mine off camera, and then I'll meet you back up when we stop to separate the sleeves from the body. Okay, so I've been working away on my sweater, and it's really easy to count our rows with this striping pattern. So it makes it really easy. I've worked up here until I have my widest body section here has 51 stitches. So if we count the rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 rows from where we started into working our V stitches. So in total, we have 51 and 51, and we have 45 and 45 for our sleeve sections. So in total, we also need to add 8 stitches for our V's. So in total, we have 200 stitches at this point for our small size. So now what we're gonna do is separate the sleeves and the body. So we're gonna come back here. Okay, so I've slip stitched into the second chain of the chain 3 and then slip stitched into the chain 1 space. Now we'll chain 2 and work a double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 4. I'm going to skip over this entire section, including this stitch. You can see the V stitch here. I'm going to work now a double crochet into the second double crochet of that V. Then I'm going to continue working across until I get to the next V stitch. So work double crochets across. Okay, so I've worked across 53 and I'm ending in the double crochet of the V. Now I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to skip across this sleeve. And I'm going to work into the double crochet, the second double crochet of the next V. Now I'm going to work across, and including this double crochet, we're going to need another 53 stitches. But we're going to include the first one that we started with. So I'm going to work across. I'll meet you up to show you how you should be finishing this. Okay, so I've worked around, I'm at 51. This will be my 52nd stitch, and this first stitch will count as 53 stitches on this side of the chain. So we'll just slip stitch right into the top of that first double crochet. Now what we're going to do is work in a continuous round so that there'll be no joining. So you'll want to grab a stitch marker, and I'm just going to begin here with a double crochet in that same stitch that we joined. We can mark this stitch just so we keep track. You can move this along as you go. Now we're going to work double crochet, just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then continue working. So at this point, we're just going to continue working the body now in the round, continuous round with no join. So when we get to the next chain 4, we're just working right across seamlessly. So we'll work a double crochet in each chain and then back around. Have a total of 114 stitches. And this is going to give us about 38 inches around. So I'm just going to continue now working this. It's just double crochet stitches. I'll work around to the marker and then we'll meet up again. Okay, so I'm coming around to my marker. So you can just remove it and then work your next double crochet into it. And then I'll just put my marker back in and just keep moving it up each round. Now also I wanted to mention, I'm coming to the end of this ball. So what I would prefer to do is join my next ball at around the same color, just so that we can continue with the same sort of pattern. So here, this ball, I would need to remove a little bit, but then I can kind of come into, I'm coming out of my yellow, going into the brown. So I am just going to cut this just so my color pattern blends well. And you can kind of do that with the sleeves as well, as just pick up the color so that it's blending. I'm going to do a thumb join to join these. Take your tails, tuck them under. Okay, and then I'm just going to keep going, working. Now you can work this sweater really as long as you want. I'm making this one for my daughter, so I definitely won't go as long for her as I maybe would for myself. So we're going to keep it crop. I think she likes that length right now. So I'm going to go with the crop length. I'm going to measure out one of her tops, and this is something you can do as well. If you have a top that you like the length of, measure from the underarm down and decide how long to go with your cardigan based on, or your pullover, based on how you like that length. But because we're working from the top down, you can also try on as you go, which makes it nice. Allows you to try it on and keep working until you have the right length. So I'm going to continue just working in my rounds off camera until I get the length that I want for this pullover. Okay, so I've been working away on the body of the sweater, and I have about 5 inches crocheted, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rows. And at this point, I've tried it on my daughter, and it is a good length for her. So this is where you can keep really going as long as you want. My daughter is 10, so she's only about 5'1". So she wants it at that waist length for her. Now, my other daughter that's 17, I feel like she will enjoy this length as well because she wears a lot of crop tops. But this sweater is so easy to customize. You could keep going with additional length. I would probably, for myself, definitely do a couple more inches. And you could even add a band like this if you wanted. You could go hip length. Really, you can go as long as you want with it. But I'm going to stop here so that it's a good fit for my daughter. And what I'm going to do is finish off with a round of single crochet. But before I get to the marker, I'm going to step it down with the last stitch in a half double crochet, and then I'll work a single crochet in that first stitch. So I'm just going to work around now with single crochet stitches. So now for the sleeve, you want to find that chain 4. We're going to join into the 3rd chain. And this ball of yarn is going to follow a similar pattern to the body, so I'm happy with joining on here with my new ball of yarn. I'm going to chain 2, and I'll work a double crochet in that stitch and in the next chain as well. Now what I want to do for this corner piece, just to kind of make this join a little better, we're going to do a tog. So I'm going to go in that space and in this space, just so that we don't have any gapping there. So we have 3 stitches, and then I'm going to continue working around the sleeve. Only have 2 chains here, but because it looks almost sort of like there's 3, I'm going to do another tog here as well. I just want to make sure that there is no gaps. And then we're going to slip stitch to join. So we'll have a total of 51 stitches worked around. I'm going to chain 2, and we're going to do a tog across the first 2 stitches. And then I'll work 1 in every stitch around. So we'll be reducing this round to 50 stitches. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you a little tip, and it's just going to help to really keep that join not as visible. You can do a reverse slip stitch. So we're going to keep our yarn to the front of the work, and then we're going to take our hook, we're going to push our hook through the top of the stitch. We're going to yarn under instead of yarning over, and just pull through and chain 2. And now for the next 2 rounds, we're just going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch around. So I'm going to go ahead and work those next 2 rounds off camera. Okay, so I'm going to do a reverse slip stitch to join. I've worked my 2 rounds. We'll chain 2, and now I'm going to do another decrease. Okay, and then I'm going to continue to work all the way around. So now we'll be reduced to 49 stitches, decrease round and 2 non-decrease rounds. So I'm going to continue working that around, and then I'll do my 2 rounds at 49 stitches. Okay, so I've worked those additional rounds, and now I'm just going to continue just working this decrease pattern. So a round of decrease and then 2 rounds of knot, and then basically just working the sleeve as long as I need to, or work it as long as you need to. So you can try on as you go. We are going to add a rimmed band to tighten it up at the end. It will be a really gradual decrease, so the sleeve will still be fairly puffy, worked all the way down, but just a very, very slight gradual decrease. If you wanted, you could keep it all at the same. If you really want your sleeve poofier and bigger, you could completely omit the decreases and just work in rounds until you reach the desired length. So what I'll do is I'll pop up directions on how many rounds in total that I'm working for this size, but again, you can alter this to fit your body. Okay, so here is my sleeve, and I've worked a total of 30 rows down to before we begin our cuff. So now we also had some decreases, and what I did for this sweater is I wanted to keep the sleeve still fairly large, so I decreased until I had 44 stitches. And then I just continued working in rows until I reached my desired length. So now what you'll want to do is switch over to our 5mm. Let me find it here. Okay, the 5mm crochet hook. And I'm going to work around in single crochet stitches. You should have a total of 44. If you wanted to pull in your cuff so that it's tighter, you could work, you could skip every 3rd stitch, and then that would give you a tighter cuff around your wrist. Or if you like to be a little bit looser still, you can do it the same as what I'm doing. So I'm keeping it at the 44 stitches. And so it looks like this. But if you were to skip every 3rd, you'd be able to cinch that in a little bit more. Okay, and now once you've worked all the way around, we're going to slip stitch to join, and we're going to begin working the cuff. So we'll start out with a chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we'll work single crochets in the 2nd chain from the hook and down the chain. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and now what we'll do is we're going to skip that very first stitch that we slip stitched into, and then we'll slip stitch in the next 2 stitches along the base here. We'll turn, and then we'll work in the back loops only, single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a single crochet in the back loop only. So we'll be joining this cuff as we go to the sleeve edge. I'll chain 1 and turn, and continue to work single crochets in the back loop only. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we'll slip stitch into the next 2, and we'll repeat this all the way around. So we'll end up with that total of 44 rows, unless if you've chosen to do a little bit more of a tighter cuff. Okay, so I'm just going to complete that around. Once you've finished, all you'll do is slip stitch that band together, fasten off, and weave in your tail. So I will just complete this off camera. And next I'm just going to show you how to add the band around the body of the sweater as well. Okay, once you get all the way around, it's going to look like this. And I just put my right side's facing, and I just slip stitched down, and now this tail can just get woven in, and this is how your cuff will look. So now let's go back to the body. You could leave this sort of unfinished look edge as is, or you can work a join as you go, ribbing just like we did. So I've already worked around this in a round of single crochet. Already completed that. And I'm just going to slip stitch that over. And then what I'm going to do is the exact same thing. So I have my smaller hook. I'm going to, you could do a larger band if you want, but I'm going to keep them all consistent with the 6 stitches. So again, I'll chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll work it the exact same way. So I'm just going to do, again, a join as you go. I'm going to need to bring in some more yarn for this. So I'll work a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Okay, and you want to work this down so that we have a total of 6 stitches. Slip stitch into the next 2. Turn, and then we'll work back up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So single crochets in the back loops only. Chain 1 and turn. And slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just like to double check that I am going through the right stitch. Chain 1 and turn, and this is going to be worked exactly this way around the entire base of the sweater. Again, you can make your sweater as long as you want, and you can finish it off without a ribbed edging, or to give this more finished look, just finished off with the rib band. Now this is going to be a crop length, so it'll be fairly short, so feel free to lengthen it. You'll just need to go with an extra ball of yarn. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, Please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell so you stay updated on all my new videos and tutorials. Thanks so much, guys. Have an awesome day.